There's been a lot of talk recently about how if Arsenal win the league this season, they will be the worst Premier League winners of all time, or of recent history at least. We're going to put that to the test today and go player by player and do essentially combined 11s against previous Premier League winners. Now, I know it doesn't just come down to player versus player, but this is what we're going to do today. We're going to have a look at the current Arsenal team and pit them against previous Premier League winners. So let's get into it. Okay, I've got the Arsenal team loaded up here, or at least the first team players that we're going to consider. And as you can see, the first team we're doing is Leicester, when they won the Premier League. That's nearly 10 years ago now. But let's go combined 11 player by player. So we're starting off in goal. David Raya versus Kasper Schmeichel. Kasper Schmeichel was obviously really, really good in that period. But I think we can agree that Raya is definitely a better goalkeeper than Kasper Schmeichel was. I don't think that he was a bad goalkeeper, but he's kind of proved since moving on to another team that he's maybe not at the top level like Raya is right now. So we're getting rid of Schmeichel. We're going with David Raya for that position. Now at right back, we've got Timber versus Simpson. Now Simpson was so out of place in this team. The fact that he has a Premier League winning medal is quite hilarious for many people, myself included. He was good that season though. We do have to give him his flowers there. He was good that season. But I think we can all agree that Jurriën Timber is definitely a better right back than Danny Simpson was. So we're getting rid of him there. And we're going to see a lot of Arsenal players in the defence. It's the attack where the other teams will make up for it, especially Leicester. So we're looking at centre-backs now. And we've got Saliba versus Robert Huth. This one is where it is potentially a little bit closer because the centre-backs were very good for Leicester. But I do think that Saliba's just a better centre-back than Robert Huth was. So we're going with him. Gabriel against Wes Morgan. Wes Morgan was the captain of this team, of course. A huge part to play. But again, he was never at the level that Gabriel is right now. Gabriel is considered probably the best centre-back in the world, at least one of the best centre-backs in the world right now. So we have to take Gabriel here, and I think everyone will agree with that. Left-back's where it gets a little bit interesting. Christian Fuchs was a fantastic buy by Leicester at the time. He really did improve that defensively, but also going forward, he was fantastic. And then we've got Hincapié or Calafiori as the Arsenal left-back contingent here. I don't know about you, but I still think that this is Arsenal. I still think it's Hincapié. I still think that it is Calafiori. One of the two. It doesn't actually matter which one, but I'm going to take one of these guys because I do think that they are both better than Christian Fuchs, although that one maybe is a little bit closer. Now, the two centre midfielders here, obviously they played different formations, these teams. We had a 4-4-2 from Leicester and we've got a 4-2-3-1 as such from Arsenal. Now, in terms of the centre midfielders, we've got Zubimendi and Rice against Kante and Drinkwater. Now, I think we can all agree that Rice goes in here. Rice is just one of the best central midfielders in the world right now, if not the best. That's up for debate. I mean, I'm maybe a little bit biased on him. I think he's fantastic. So we're definitely going with Rice in here. But the next centre midfielder, Zubimendi started the season really well, but more recently, he hasn't been at it, I wouldn't say. Drinkwater was fantastic in that season. Don't get me wrong. An unbelievable footballer in that season. But again, once he left Leicester, he did nothing. He was poor. I think the obvious answer here is to take Kante as that second centre midfielder and we get rid of Drinkwater, we get rid of Zubimendi. I don't think that'll be too much of an unpopular one, to be honest. N'Golo Kante was just a beast in that midfield for Leicester. It goes kind of underrated how well-rounded he was. People look and see that he was a ball-winning midfielder, a defensive midfielder, but he was also good going forward, and we saw that more when he went to Chelsea. And that's another reason why he's the one that should be picked here, because after leaving Leicester, he actually went on to do really, really good things, if not better things. He won the league with Chelsea the following season, and going forward, he developed into a better footballer. I think at Leicester, he was just more of a ball winner, but a fantastic ball winner at that. Whereas at Chelsea, like I say, he went on to be more of an 8 as such, where he would get forward, he'd pick up the ball in more advanced areas. What a footballer he was, and he definitely goes into this team. Right, on to the more attacking players now, and what we're going to do is we're going to fit this to Leicester's formation rather than Arsenal's. We're going to do it as a 4-4-2, meaning that Eze and Odegaard serve basically no purpose here. Neither of them have had a fantastic season, so that doesn't matter too much. On the right is a really difficult one. Saka versus Mahrez. Two top players in their position. Two unbelievable right wingers. I think at the moment, we probably have to take Mahrez on the right. He's just done more in his career than Saka has at the moment. Saka kind of has carried Arsenal for a number of years now. Less so this season because the rest of the squad are being involved. But Mahrez was just unbelievable and it feels wrong. But we do have to get rid of Saka here in order to take Mahrez. Now, on the left, we've got Trossard or Martinelli versus Mark Albrighton. Now, Mark Albrighton was a really interesting footballer. Such an old school winger in that his game was get down the byline, not particularly quick, didn't have loads of pace, but get down the byline, put a cross in to the strikers. But he was so effective at that. Trossard, Martinelli. I don't think Martinelli's good enough at this level for Arsenal. I also don't think Trossard is. I know he started the season really well. I just don't think either of them are particularly good enough at this level. But then again, Mark Albrighton wasn't exactly a well beater. If we could have Saka back and put him in the left wing, then we'd obviously do that. But we're going to pick one of these guys. And I do believe it's probably Trossard just because of the start of the season he's had. The rest of these guys are going to have to go. Quite harsh on Mark Albrighton, but such is the game. Now, Vardy and Okazaki were the strikers for Leicester in this season. I think we can all agree that Jamie Vardy just definitely goes in this team. What an unbelievable footballer he was, especially in that season, breaking records left, right and centre. The next striker is a really difficult one because Okazaki, whilst he was effective at what he did in that team, I'm not sure he gets into this team above the likes of Havertz or Gyökeres or Jesus, to be honest. I do think that one of these Arsenal guys goes in here. We'll give it to Havertz for now because I do think that Havertz has probably been the best of these Arsenal strikers in recent times. That means we get rid of these guys. So this is the team and only 3 Leicester players get into this team. I do think this will be the least amount of players that get in compared to the other teams, but that Leicester team was a joke. Let's move on to the next one now. Okay, the next team we're looking at here is the treble-winning Manchester City team. What a team that was. Now, first up, we've got David Raya versus Ederson. Now, I do actually think that Ederson was never really that good as a goalkeeper, personally. With the ball at his feet, unbelievable. As an actual footballer, unbelievable. But for me, this one has to be David Raya. I think he just is a better goalkeeper. So we're going with him. Walker versus Timber. Now, there's not many right-backs that would go over Timber here because I do think that Timber's really good, but Kyle Walker is definitely one of them. What a player he was. He's definitely going in here. Okay, now we've got some difficult centre-back choices. Saliba versus Stones and Gabriel versus Diaz. I don't think this is when Diaz was at his very best. The first season he came in, he was unbelievable. And don't get me wrong, he was still good, but I think that Gabriel is still the pick here. Gabriel is unbelievable right now. Saliba versus Stones is a very tough one. This is kind of when Stones was at his best, I'd say. So we've got to take Stones here, despite Saliba being very good. Okay, at left back, although it wasn't quite left back, I mean, Stones kind of went in as a centre midfielder, and then Walker made it into a back three of Diaz, Walker, and Akanji. But we're doing Akanji versus Hincapié, Calafiori. I think we can agree that this one is either Hincapié or Calafiori. Doesn't matter which one really. But Akanji, again, he was good. Obviously, he was good. Every single player on here is good. But I'd say that these two for Arsenal are currently better. Now, this is where it gets interesting. The midfield is very interesting. We're going to do this in Arsenal's shape because I don't think you lose out too much by not doing this City shape where you've got Stones in centre midfield and all of that nonsense. But Rice, again, I think Rice makes it here. I think Rice makes it over Gundogan. Gundogan was a joke at that time, of course, but I still think that Declan Rice offers way more. However, Rodri does come in here instead of Zubimendi, of course. I think we can all agree on that one. Again, I think we can agree that this number 10 spot is a weak one for Arsenal, so we're not going with Odegaard. We're not going to go with Eze. We're obviously going with Kevin De Bruyne. What a footballer he was. I think we can all agree that that Man City midfield of Gundogan, Rodri, De Bruyne, and I guess Bernardo Silva was kind of tucking in there as well from the right. What a midfield 3/4 that was. had it all. De Bruyne was at the peak of his powers, an absolute beast. He was actually fit for most of that season as well, which you can't say about all of the seasons that he played. Rodri was pretty much on top of his game as well, and Gundogan, albeit he was coming towards the end of his Man City career, or at least that stint of it, he was still an absolute beast. It was such a balance where Rodri could hold the fort, Gundogan could get up and down, crash the box, and De Bruyne could get into these little pockets of space where he could cause havoc with his creativity, his technique, a joke of a midfield, and Bernardo Silva just offered energy. He was everywhere. What a midfield that was. Okay, and on to the attackers now. On the right, Bernardo Silva versus Bukayo Saka. Now, Bernardo Silva has played a lot of his time at Man City on the right, sometimes on the left, sometimes on the middle, sometimes deeper as well in the middle. But a lot of the time has been spent on the right. I don't think that is his best position personally. I do think we're going to have to take Saka here, just because Bernardo Silva has been unbelievable, of course, but I don't think on the right is really his best role. So we're taking Saka there. On the left, we've got Martinelli or Trossard versus Grealish. Now, we all like to say that Pep coached the fun out of Grealish, and I do think that is somewhat true. But how effective was he in that role? We're definitely taking him, despite the fact that he wasn't incredibly free-flowing or creative in that role. He's definitely the best option here for that. And then up front, I don't think there's too much of a question. We're definitely taking Erling Haaland over any of these Arsenal attackers. He was a joke in that season. So what we're looking at here is 6 Man City players and 5 Arsenal players. Let's get on to the next team now. Okay, next up, we've got Jurgen Klopp's title-winning Liverpool team. What a beast of a team this was. Okay, starting off in goal, Raya versus Alisson. Now, I think this is where Raya doesn't quite make it. Alisson is definitely, or not right now, but was a better keeper than Raya. So we're going with Alisson there. And this is where a lot of these Liverpool players could actually come in, because the strength for Arsenal is in their defence. But the strength for Liverpool was also massively in their defence, because Timber versus Trent, we've got to take Trent here. He was incredible at that time. There's no way I'm not taking Trent in this team. And if we go left back, the same the other side. Robertson, the pair of them bombing down the wing, and how creative they were. So we have to take both of them, meaning we can't take Hincapié, we can't take Calafiori. Onto the centre-backs, and this is one where Gabriel does get pipped. There's not many players in Premier League history that could pip Gabriel right now, but we have to take Van Dijk here. We've taken 4 out of the 5 Liverpool defensive options. That means no Gabriel. However, I do think we take Saliba here. You probably take Van Dijk and Gabriel, but in terms of positioning, we'll go with Van Dijk and Saliba here. So we're getting rid of Matip. Onto the midfield, and this is going to be an interesting one, because we've got Rice, Henderson, Fabinho, Wijnaldum, Zubimendi, and then Odegaard or Eze. Now, we'll deal with them as they are lying right now. So I do think that Rice goes over Henderson. That actually might be an unpopular one, because Henderson was a joke in that period. But I still think that Declan Rice is Declan Rice. We go Fabinho over Zubimendi. I think Zubimendi, again, like I said, he started the season really well, but then he's just tailed off and hasn't been great recently. And then the last one is Odegaard or Eze versus Wijnaldum. For me, this is actually pretty easy. We take Wijnaldum. He wasn't really a number 10, but we're going to put him in that more attacking midfield role. He was actually a joke. It goes underrated how good he was. I think Fabinho and Henderson get talked about a little bit more than Wijnaldum does, and I'm not sure that's completely fair, because he was incredible. The front three now, and we're looking at Salah versus Saka. That's probably the hardest one out of this front three, and it's still definitely Salah. I don't think there's much to talk about with any of this front three. Mane's better than any left winger that Arsenal currently have, and Bobby Firmino is better than all of Arsenal's attacking options or striker options. So all of these guys are just going to have to go. The front three probably is Arsenal's weakest area, but even if it wasn't, you'd be hard pushed to not put Salah, Firmino and Mane in any combined 11. Any combined 11 of Premier League teams that you can make, especially Mane and Salah. They were incredible. And Bobby Firmino was the one that allowed that to happen. He goes underrated. I saw a compilation of his goals and assists the other day. He is so underrated. He scored some really important goals himself, and he allowed Mane and Salah to absolutely flourish. What a player he was. What a front three that was. And to be honest, what a team this Liverpool team was. So that's 9 players from Liverpool in this combined 11. Only Saliba and Declan Rice actually make it into this combined 11. I don't think we're going to see more than that. That's the most we've had. And I can't imagine there's going to be more. But let's get on to the last team now. Okay, we're on to the last team now, and it's Mourinho's Chelsea from 2005/2006. What a team this was. Barely conceded goals. Similar to Arsenal in that sense, although much better defensively, of course. Raya versus Cech is the first one. I think we can all agree on that. It's definitely Petr Cech. There's not too much to be said there. At right back, Timber versus Paulo Ferreira. Paulo Ferreira was good, but how good was he really? I'm not sure that he was better than Timber is currently. Timber is playing at a very, very good level, and I'm not sure that Ferreira was really on top of the game like that. Saliba versus Carvalho. This is actually a really difficult one because Carvalho does go underrated quite a lot, mainly because John Terry was so good. I think we do take Carvalho here over Saliba. That one is actually very close though. And then we've got Gabriel versus John Terry. This is an easy one. John Terry is the answer here, of course. Left back was an interesting one for this Chelsea team. A few players played there. William Gallas did play there. So we've got him versus Calafiori or Hincapié. I'm not sure he was ever that great a left back. I don't remember watching him thinking he was that good. And don't get me wrong, I wasn't that old when this was happening. I was still watching football. I watched these players. But I don't remember Gallas being unbelievable. So I'm not going to put him in. I'm going to put Hincapié and Calafiori. I remember Gallas being better at centre-back than he was at left-back. So I'm not taking him there. Okay, the midfield now. Essien, Makelele, Lampard, Rice, Zubimendi, Odegaard/Eze. Now, for me, Declan Rice is still in here over Essien. Essien was fantastic. I know people are probably going to hate that one. That's probably an unpopular one. But I do think we will look back at Declan Rice's career and realise that he is unbelievable. However, the rest of the midfield is just not Arsenal at all. It's Makelele, it's Lampard, Odegaard, Eze and Zubimendi get nowhere near this midfield. Now on the right we've got Saka versus Robben, and a lot of people will probably just be thinking, okay, well this is obviously Robben. Robben's obviously the answer. But I don't think it is. And the reason for that is because I don't think this was the proper Robben at Chelsea. The proper Robben was at Bayern. This wasn't the best version of Robben. So I'm going to take Saka. Again, potentially an unpopular one. But the reason is that I don't think this was the best Robben at all. Now on the left, we've got Martinelli or Trossard versus Joe Cole. I'm going to take Joe Cole here. I don't think this one is that easy. I think if Arsenal had a better option at left wing, then we'd be having a conversation here. I don't think Joe Cole, this wasn't Joe Cole at the peak of his powers. And Joe Cole was actually never like a world-class winger. So it's not as easy, but Trossard and Martinelli just aren't very good, are they? They're not really doing it at the moment. So we're taking Joe Cole here. And then up front, we've got Jesus, Havertz, Gyökeres versus Drogba. This one is a very easy one. It's of course Drogba. Again, Arsenal have got their struggles at the top of the pitch, which is why we've got Joe Cole in there. But Drogba would be in here regardless. What a player he was. I actually think he goes underrated a bit now. If he was playing now, he'd still be just as impressive. What a beast of a footballer. And don't get me wrong, Arsenal could absolutely do with him. I have actually seen people comparing his style to Gyökeres. I think that's disrespectful to Drogba. Gyökeres is not anywhere near it. Drogba was an absolute beast and he would still be able to do it now. So that means Jesus, Havertz, Gyökeres, none of them are included in this, of course. And that means we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Chelsea players. Not quite as many as Liverpool, but still more than Arsenal. Now that wraps this one up. Make sure you put in the comments your opinions. I'm sure there's a lot of mine that you don't agree with. Very subjective, of course. Now, if you liked the video, make sure you hit like, make sure you subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.